Merry Christmas, guys. Devon Exceon here, and today we're going to be doing a reading. No, not Who Am I? We haven't gotten to that point yet, but an essay that I wrote 4 years ago in 8th grade when I was 14. We were given an assignment to write a short story based on Christmas or, the North Pole misadventures. And while everyone else handed in short stories of a couple hundred words, I handed in a story of 3,000 words. Apparently it paid off though, because when I got the essay back, it had the Swedish grade equivalent of A++. So what's this about? I don't know. I haven't read this in 4 years, so it'll be interesting for you and me alike. Let's do this. Oh, by the way, the chapters are named after the dates leading up to Christmas. So let's begin. The Candy Cane Mystery, 19th December. The little boy Sam and his family are excited. It's time to decorate the Christmas tree. With the eager sparkling in his eyes, he runs upstairs to get the decorations. Being the impatient little kid he is, he starts unboxing them already. In the newly purchased box, he finds the Christmas tree illuminations, a couple of mistletoes, a box filled with white candy canes, the Christmas star. Wait. His eyes are looking at the suspicious white candy canes. White? Where are the red stripes? No taste of strawberry? Disaster! Sam quickly runs downstairs and brings a couple of candy canes with him. The eager in his eyes are gone, and it has been replaced by nervous tension. He finds his mother in the kitchen talking on the phone while making gingerbread cookies. "Mom!" he yells. The mother rejects him by waving him off. "Shh!" is what Sam gets in response. He gets a little frustrated. "Why does she always talk on the phone?" he says to himself. Frustrated as he is, he starts pulling his mother's shirt in an attempt to get her attention. He succeeds. "Bertha, hold on, my son wants something." She pulls down the phone and from her ear, covers it up with her hand, and says frustratingly, "What is it?" "These." Sam shows her the snow-white candy canes. "But dear, we can't decorate the tree with candy canes without stripes. Upstairs, in the decorations box, there should be canes with red stripes." Sam wimps out the horrifying truth. "Mom, these are the candy canes from the red decorations box. The stripes are gone." The phone is dropped, and a scream, so loud it could wake up dead, is heard from that kitchen. 20th December. It's an early morning on the North Pole, and the mood in the elf headquarters is hectic. Though it's not as hectic as last year. This year, Santa decided to invest in a machine that creates the toys and candy. All the elves got to do is program it. The real reason why Santa bought the machine was so that he could get a vacation this year. He is in Thailand, getting a suntan. The leader elf, Mr. Johnson, is sitting in his office, going through some wish lists and the naughty list one more time to make sure they've gotten it right. He is just about to take a sip from his coffee when the elf Jake comes storming in through the door. Jake is one of the younger elves. He is 76 years old. Johnson is 199 years old. It's his 200th birthday coming up in January. "Mr. Johnson, we have a huge problem," Jake screams.
"No shit, Sherlock. I just spilled burning hot coffee on my green suit. What did we say about storming in through the door without knocking?"
"I'm sorry, but this is important. Calls are flooding in from all over the globe. They are saying that the red stripes from our candy canes are gone. I checked with the candy department and they confirmed it. The machine doesn't print the red stripes."
"Oh my gosh."
Mr. Johnson opened up his drawer and took out an emergency cigar. He grabbed a lighter and lit it. He put it towards his mouth, took a deep sip, and then blew out a big cloud of smoke. "Whew. Should we alert Santa?" Jake wimps out.
"No, he's on vacation. I can't wait until my 200th birthday vacation either. Don't disturb him. Get out of my way, Jake. I need to check this out for myself."
Johnson walks out the door on his way to the control room. Jake comes running after. On his way to the control room, he is stopped by many of the customer support elves. "Johnson, there are no red stripes," one tells him.
"I know. I'm on my way now. I'm on my way right now."
"Hey, Johnson, the complaints are coming in regarding the candy canes,"
Another one screams out, I know! Just let me think. Johnson starts running with several elves after him, telling him the same thing over and over. He sees a door and aims for it. He jumps inside and slams the door after himself. There, locked. Now I can think. Hey, Johnson, a voice is heard from behind him. Oh no, he says to himself. What? He turns around. It's Jake. How did he get here before him? Oh, it's you. Just leave me alone. I can handle this myself. Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to tell you that we're here. Johnson looks around. He has only been in the control room a couple of times, mostly because of paper jams, but it certainly looks like it. He walks up to one of the programmers. Hey, I'm hearing complaints about the candy canes. What seems to be the problem? I don't know. I think it's an error in the machine. There doesn't seem to be a problem with the program, he answers. I think I need to see it for myself. Take me to the machine. I'm sorry, sir. The programmer turns around, looks at him, and takes off his headset. The machine is working really hard, and it's over 300 degrees Celsius in the machine room right now. You will melt if you enter now. You have to wait until after Christmas. Johnson bursts out in rage. What? The people need the candy canes to decorate their Christmas trees. We need this problem fixed and the red striped candy canes shipped out by the 23rd so people can decorate their trees in time. Johnson dropped his cigar on the floor. Damn it! I didn't know that, sir. We could try cool it down with water, but you still have to wait 24 hours for safety reasons. Come back tomorrow and we'll see what we can do. Johnson is boiling with stress, but still gets a feeling of relief. At least it's possible to solve the problem in time now. Well, I don't like it, but it's the only chance we've got. Johnson rubs his palm on his forehead. Well, what are you waiting for? Start the cooling process. And you, Jake, you're now my assistant. Pour up a hot bath for me and get me a new cigar for crying out loud. Will do, sir, Jake says and rushes out the door. Many of the programmers has turned around and are slowly inspecting with their eyes the man who has just raged out loud. What are you looking at? Get working! The 21st of December. Johnson is waiting outside of the machine room, waiting for it to become clear. It's been a long night without sleep. Johnson has been too stressed to sleep. Bing! A light bulb goes green. You may enter now, Johnson, Jake tells him. Johnson nods in relief and walks in. It's very hot inside, but the programmers have in record time cooled it down to a survivable temperature. He has a quick look around. It's a huge room with an equally huge machine. His attention is pointed at the two flashing red lights. Johnson points at one of them. What does this one mean? It means that the printing process has been interrupted. The programmers interrupted it so we could enter, remember? Yeah, whatever. Johnson points at the other one. This one? Jake brings up a huge manual. A huge machine deserves a huge manual, right? Right here. It says that it means something is wrong with the color ink and the food color part. Johnson finds a lever and pulls it. A hatch opens, and all different colors and flavors become visible. Here's the problem. The red strawberry flavor is gone. This explains everything. We should check with the flavor department to see if they've seen it, or if they have any more we can refuel the machine with. Good idea. Johnson closes the hatch and picks up a phone. Connect me to the flavor department. A while later, Jake and Mr. Johnson finds themselves in the flavor department, talking to two managers, Robert and James. Johnson says, So, what are you saying? Wait, hang on. Johnson says, So, what you're saying is that you, Robert, took the last bucket of red flavor to the machine, but you didn't insert it? Correct. I don't know how to, so I told Jessica over here. Robert points towards his assistant Jessica, who is standing in the corner. She is fairly new to the flavor department. She used to be wrapping presents until she was recently promoted. To tell James to insert it instead because he knows how to. Did you, Jessica, tell James that? Johnson asks. Yes, she stutters out. James' eyes become wide open. No, you didn't. You told me, stuttering as usual, that Robert had taken the bucket of red color to the machine.
Nothing else. I thought you meant that he had inserted it too. When you stutter, people never know what you're saying. Jessica becomes scared. Yeah, but I meant. How am I supposed to know what you meant? Hisses James. Hey, stop that. Johnson stepped in. James, calm down. And Jessica, don't be afraid. We all make mistakes. Just don't be nervous and be more clear with what you say, okay? Okay. Jessica looks down on the floor. I just got promoted here, and I'm afraid to make a mistake and lose my promotion. Oh, please don't demote me. Don't worry, Johnson assures her. This still doesn't explain where the bucket went after this. Someone must have taken it. But why? There must be a motive. Jake, start researching on the web and find a possible motive. Yes, sir. Okay, it's nice we got that solved. But Robert, can't you just make a new portion of red food color? Robert answers with an unhappy expression on his face. Sadly, that's not possible. It takes time, and this was our last bucket. We could make a new portion, but it would be finished until way after Christmas. The red color needs a chemical called E129 to taste like strawberry. We get E129 from our mines, but we need to wait for it to grow more because they've dried up. Oh God, Johnson facepalms. If we don't find that bucket, we're screwed. Here is something, Johnson. Jake points on his computer screen. It says that the Russians have developed a huge nuclear bomb. Johnson is confused. What does this have to do with red strawberry food coloring? It says right here, for the nuclear bomb to work, it uses E129 for fuel, and the only place to get E129 is here. John smiles. Finally a breakthrough. But to do that, they need someone on the inside to export it for them. But who? At this point, one of the elves leaves the room. It's Lars, who has been standing in the corner the whole time, spectating them. I gotta call someone, he says, and leaves the room. What's that about? Jake asks. And who is he going to call? Probably Bob. They talk to each other all the time, James says. You could think they're twins. I mean, what kind of names are Bob and Lars anyway? Interesting, Johnson says. With those words, head detective, Mr. Johnson, finished off their meeting. 22nd December. The next day, Mr. Johnson has gathered up a group of elves in the room. In this room, we have Jake, Arthur, the programmer that Mr. Johnson and Jake talked to before, Robert, James, Jessica, Bob, and Mr. Johnson himself. He wanted Lars to be there, but couldn't find him. It's been a long silence, but finally it's Jake that starts the conversation. Why are we here? He says. Mr. Johnson smiles. I'm glad you asked. I've gathered you all in this room because of the candy cane problem. I'm sure at least one of you in this room knows something about the theft that you don't want anyone else to know. You are the suspects. Jessica starts shaking with nervousness. Am I a suspect too? Jake asks. Yes. You can never know. Johnson looks over at Bob. So let's start the investigation. I'm going to begin with you, Bob. My sources say that you talked to Lars yesterday, and do you know where he is? Bob was about to answer when the door slams open. Coincidentally, it's Lars. Hey, Johnson, you have to see this. Lars? Where were you? Johnson looks around. This time it's Bob that has mysteriously disappeared. Where did now Bob go? Ignore Bob. You gotta come see this. It's been a murder. Murder? The elves in the room are talking in each other's mouths. Everyone, shut up! Johnson yells, and they all start calming down. Good. Lars, where were this murder that you mentioned? Follow me. I will follow Lars. Jake, go look for Bob, and the rest, you stay here. The elves did as told, and Mr. Johnson followed Lars into a hallway. Just as described, there had seemed to be a murder. There is a body on the floor and covered what looked to be blood. It's Ron, one of the reindeer's attendants. Oh, wow. Lars, when did you discover this? Lars? Johnson looked around. Just like Bob, Lars had mysteriously disappeared. Ah, damn it! Lars looked hang on. Johnson looked a little closer at the blood. It doesn't look like elf blood. Elf blood is usually not that shiny.
Johnson dipped his finger in the blood. It was cold. He licked it. It's not blood. It's the red food coloring. That means Ron isn't dead. Ron, wake up! Johnson was shaking Ron's small elf body and finally received an answer. Ron, what happened here? Where did you get the red food coloring? Mr. Johnson, there you are. Ron quickly stood up. I was escorting some of the reindeers to the sleighs when I saw Lars loading up a bucket of some red liquid onto Santa's sleigh. He was talking Russian to someone on the phone. When he saw me, Lars started chasing me. I rushed inside trying to find some help and tell you what happened before it was too late. I guess Lars catched up to me, knocked me down, and covered me in this strawberry-tasting liquid to make it look like a murder. To distract me. Bob and Lars must be cooperating Russian agents trying to export E-129 to Russia. Oh my goodness. Johnson quickly picked up his cell phone from the pocket. Hello? Jake, is that you? Good. Are you at the Sleigh airport? Bob and Lars are Russian agents. Get over there and stop them from leaving. I'm coming too. Johnson hung up his phone and started running. Ron, you'll be fine on your own. I gotta go. Mr. Johnson rushed as fast as his tiny elf legs could go, and he pushed away every elf that got in his way. He needed to get there in time and stop Lars and Bob, but he was very far away from the Sleigh airport. Would he make it in time? All of a sudden, his cell phone was ringing. In the middle of his sprint, he picked it up and answered. Hello, Jake? What do you mean? They're leaving now? Isn't there anything you can do to stop them? Start up one of the other sleighs for me. I'll be right over there. It isn't over yet. When Mr. Johnson finally arrived at the airport, Lars and Bob had already gotten a 2-minute head start. Jake had started up one of the sleighs and had already seated. Johnson jumped inside and they were off. Do we have any weapons on board? Johnson looked at Jake. Jake looked around and replied, Not any that I know about. All we have are the presents in the back. Johnson was really thinking now. It is now or never. They're catching up to the thieves, but they don't have anything to stop them with. He opened up the glove compartment and brought out the wish lists. Sean from California wishes for an AK-47, a grappling hook, and a rocket launcher. Johnson says and starts looking in the back for Sean's presents. Wow, tough guy, Jake says. Hard to believe he has been a good boy for the entire year. But wait, you can't shoot them down with a rocket launcher. I know, I'm not stupid. If I did, they would crash, along with our only portion of red food coloring. John finally found the present he was looking for. I was looking for this. He unwraps the present and brings out the grappling hook. Fly a little closer. They had finally catched up to the thieves, Lars and Bob, and Jake was doing all he could to get the reindeers to fly faster. Soon they were close enough for Johnson to give it a try with the hook. He threw it and missed. They were now flying over the ocean on their way to the Russian waters. They couldn't let that happen. What are you going to do? Hook their sleigh? Jake asks. No, not really. Johnson threw the grappling hook one more time. Perfect hit. The grappling hook gripped onto the bucket of red food coloring, and Johnson pulled quickly. The bucket flew straight out of the back seat next to Lars without either him or Bob noticing. The bucket was now hanging below Johnson's sleigh in a rope held by Johnson. Not a single drip was spilled. Wow, Johnson! Jake was amazed. Now turn around and get us home. But what about Bob and Lars? Ignore them. We got what we needed, Johnson smiled. They still think they got it. Let's keep it that way. You're the boss, Jake said and turned the sleigh around. 19th January. So we returned to the factory, refilled the machine, and shipped out the new candy canes by the 23rd. Mr. Johnson said to Santa, while lying on a beach in Thailand, celebrating his 200th birthday. It was a rough time, but we got through it. Wow, I'm glad you could handle it yourself. That means I can stay here just a bit longer, Santa said and cracked a smile. So Lars and Bob were Russian agents? Yeah, I should have known that. I mean, Lars and Bob's would probably be the most predictable fake names in history. And you haven't heard of them ever since? Nope, Ron Johnson said. But one thing tells me they don't have to freeze anymore living in Siberia, because they're going to get coal for a long time. Santa cracked up with one of his famous laughs. Ho ho ho. The end. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed. I certainly did. Taking this trip down nostalgia lane. Merry Christmas, everyone.